You're watching South Asia Newsline, and here the top stories we are tracking for you on Friday, the 16th of August. India's Jammu and Kashmir to vote in 3 phases, first poll since 2014. Pakistan government admits it is tinkering with the internet. And Bangladesh eyes Sheikh Hasina's extradition from India. And now for all the details. The Election Commissioner of India, Rajiv Kumar, on Friday announced the schedule for assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir and Haryana. Elections in Jammu and Kashmir will be held in 3 phases on September 18, 25 and 1st of October. The counting of the votes will be held on 4th of October. The election in Haryana will be held in a single phase on 1st of October and the results will be declared on October 4th. The term of Legislative Assembly of Haryana state ends in November, whereas in Jammu and Kashmir in late September. The decision to hold fresh elections in J&K follows a December order by India's Supreme Court that rejected petitions challenging the revocation of Kashmir's special status and set a deadline of September 30 for holding polls. The Union Territory is going to witness elections after a gap of 10 years. Elections in Kashmir have been targeted by militants in the past and also witnessed low voter turnout. However, the territory recorded its highest turnout of 58.46% in 35 years in parliamentary elections held in April and May this year. Anger over the brutal rape and murder of a doctor in India's eastern Kolkata city showed no signs of dying down on Friday as medics called for the largest shutdown of hospital services in recent times. Indian Medical Association, the country's largest grouping of medics, in a statement on Thursday evening said it would implement a nationwide shutdown of most departments except essential services for 24 hours from Saturday morning, the largest such strike in at least a decade. Doctors, especially women, are vulnerable to violence because of the nature of the profession. It is for the authorities to provide for the safety of doctors inside hospitals and campuses, the statement added.
देखिए हम सबको पता है कि आर्जिकल मेडिकल कॉलेज में क्या सिनेरियो चल रहा है, ठीक है। हम सब जानते हैं कि जस्टिस जो है वो एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो अगर नहीं सही से मिले तो कोई भी संतुष्ट नहीं हो सकता। आपको खुद भी पता है वीडियोस और फोटोज इरप्ट हो रही है जिसमें जितना भी एविडेंस है वो डिस्ट्रॉय किया जा रहा है। तो एज डॉक्टर्स हमारी सिर्फ एक ही गुहार है कि प्लीज़ जस्टिस प्रोवाइड की जाइए, हमारी डिमांड है सबसे बड़ी।
Political parties including Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP, the main opposition party in West Bengal, where the incident occurred, also held protests in the city on Friday. Actors, other celebrities and politicians have voiced shock at the crime, calling for stricter punishments for perpetrators of crime against women. The 31-year-old trainee doctor was raped and murdered last week inside a medical college in Kolkata, where she worked, triggering nationwide protests among doctors and drawing parallels to the notorious gang rape and murder of a 23-year-old student on a moving bus in New Delhi in 2012. And after months of speculations about installation of a so-called firewall was leading to internet disruptions, Pakistan's IT Minister Shaza Fatima Khawaja has finally admitted that the government was indeed upgrading its web management system to cope with cybersecurity threats. Local media reported Islamabad is implementing the internet firewall to monitor and regulate content and social media platforms. The government denies the use of the firewall for censorship. Pakistan has already blocked access to social media platform X since the February elections, in which jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan won the most seats despite a crackdown and ban on his party. The government has said the blocking was to stop anti-state activities and a failure by X to adhere to local Pakistani laws. Rights activists say the blocking of X is designed to stifle critical voices and democratic accountability in the country. And Taliban's acting Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi has said that US citizens can come to Afghanistan for business and diplomatic relations, but not in military uniforms. Speaking with a foreign media outlet, Muttaqi said the Taliban seeks good relation with every country, including the US, and also claimed that the aid sent by Washington does not reach them. Meanwhile, as the Taliban celebrated its third anniversary of seizing power, two female Afghan filmmakers living in exile in the US and Europe recounted their ordeal when the Kabul fell to Taliban. Filmmaker Sehra Karimi filmed herself running through Kabul streets during her escape, which went viral at the time. Now, she is releasing a movie, Flight from Kabul, a film based on her escape and other such stories, which is supposed to release later this year. In a patriarchal country like Afghanistan, she said it was the women filmmakers who were the ambassadors of the stories of Afghanistan to the world.
The profound reality of Afghanistan, the exact fact of Afghanistan, the true narrative of Afghanistan are women of Afghanistan, the brave women of Afghanistan, and the new generation of Afghanistan. So I want to use this opportunity to ask international community that do not support that dirty, shamefully narrative about Afghanistan and stand on the right side of the history and support people of Afghanistan, support women of Afghanistan, not with humanitarian aids and give them piece of bread or piece of chocolate, but help them to get their freedom back so they will work and earn money to buy that piece of bread and chocolate for themselves.
Similarly, Alka Saddat's untitled film is also based on issues plaguing Afghanistan today. Both the filmmakers are nevertheless hopeful of returning to the country, but 3 years after they fled, they still can't imagine when a return could be possible. Since seizing power in 2021, Taliban has been imposing severe restrictions on women in the name of Sharia law.
Making a film about the Afghan commandos, and that film also was really bad thing happening because they was fighting against Taliban, and I had I follow a group of army, more than 100, but 4 of them were the main character of the films of the film, and one of them was killed by Taliban at the end of the movie. And then because I spent months with him, and he was the guy who was really hopeful than the others, and he said, now everything is okay with Afghanistan, I'm fighting, and the peace will come soon, and my children will go to school.
And after another murder case was registered against Sheikh Hasina's Bangladesh de facto foreign minister, Mohammed Touhid Hossain has said the South Asian nation could decide whether to ask India to extradite former Prime Minister. Talking to Reuters, Hossain said, since there are so many cases in Bangladesh against Hasina, the country's home and law ministries could make the request to New Delhi. He added, the interim head of government, Mohammed Yunus, is very unhappy about the way the statements are coming from India from the former Prime Minister, and said the same was conveyed to the Indian envoy in a meeting on Wednesday. Notably, the former Premier Hasina fled Bangladesh for India on 5th of August after a violent uprising against her led to nearly 300 deaths, including that of many students. In her only statement since her ouster, Hasina has demanded a probe into the killings and vandalism during the protest. She has not commented on the charges against her.
Stay in Delhi, in India. The question comes that since there are so many cases, there could be, again some speculating, I am not the person right to answer this. If there is a request from there, we have to ask for her, return to Bangladesh, if there is a demand from there. And that creates an embarrassing situation for the Indian government. So I think Indian government knows this, and I'm sure they will take care of it.
Meanwhile, around 100 leaders and supporters of Hasina's Awami League were injured on Thursday after they were attacked by protesters preventing anyone to pay their respects to Bangladesh founder and Hasina's father, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. According to local media reports, protesters, many of whom were part of the violent protest which led to Hasina's ouster, did not allow anyone to gather in front of the museum dedicated to Rahman and allegedly punched and beat anyone paying their respects. Hasina's father, known as Bang Bandhu, was assassinated along with his family members by some rogue army officers within 4 years of country's independence from Pakistan. Hasina and her sister Sheikh Hasina survived as both were abroad during the assassination. Sri Lanka's inflation is likely to remain well below target until March next year, a monetary policy report released by the central bank said on Thursday, underscoring the island nation's fragile economic rebound from a crippling financial crisis. The island nation's economy is seeing glimmers of recovery, helped by $2.9 billion IMF bailout after it went into free fall in 2022. Sri Lanka's inflation is projected to remain about 2 percentage points below the central bank's target of 5% for the next 7 months due to lower power, fuel and food prices, the report said. Inflation rose to 2.4% in July from 1.7% the previous month. Sri Lanka will hold a presidential poll on September 21, with the Election Commission giving approval for President Ranil Wickremesinghe to contest in the race that will pit him against opposition leader Sajith Premadasa and Marxist-leaning Anura Kumara Dissanayake. The winner will have to shore up the fragile economic recovery, implement more taxes under the IMF program, finalize debt restructuring of $12.5 billion and focus on achieving sustainable growth. Moving on, the Indian Space Research Organisation successfully launched an Earth observation satellite aboard the third and final development flight of SSLV-03 from Sriharikota Space Station on Friday. The launch marks a significant milestone for ISRO as it continues to refine and perfect its small satellite launch capabilities. It will initially inject 3 satellites into a 450-kilometer circular orbit vehicle. The space agency was earlier able to place satellites in their intended orbit in its second attempt in February 2023. The main objectives of this mission are designing and developing a microsatellite, creating payload instruments compatible with the microsatellite bus, and incorporating new technologies required for future operational satellites. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time next week. Have a great weekend. Good night.